I was very, very inspired by Tova Gold's story of loss and how she used this journey to transform her life into something positive. Tova is a New York-based artist with us today, all the way from New York, so I'm super excited that she's here. Her life's purpose was revealed to her after her second pregnancy ended at 23 and a half weeks with the loss of her identical twin girls, forever nicknamed Sunshine and Daisy. I'll let Tova tell you more about her girls and how they've helped her to live a life of joy and purpose in memory of them. We are honored to have Tova here today and hope that you'll find inspiration in hearing her speak about the Muchness movement. Give Tova a big
Hi, thank you, Melissa, for inviting me here. This is such a beautiful expression of your love for your daughter, and I'm so honored to be part of it. It's been 4 years, 1 week, and 3 days since we said goodbye to our daughter, Sunshine and Daisy. They were taken from us by twin transfusion syndrome, or TTCS, between my 23rd and 24th week of pregnancy. Twin transfusion syndrome is basically a disorder of the placenta, the shared placenta in identical twins. One baby gets too much blood in nutrients and the other doesn't get enough. We were a very mild case. Our doctors were very optimistic. They monitored us for the last 8 weeks of our pregnancy every week, sometimes twice a week, and they were confident that everything would be okay. And then it wasn't. It was really hard, you know. They passed away, and I entered into the grief process, not really knowing what that was. And I expected that we would be sad for a while, we would grieve, whatever that meant, and then we would put it behind us. We'd move on, we'd have another child, we'd go on with life. And I quickly realized that it wasn't going to be that way, that I needed to open myself up to this grief. I needed to let it in to me in order to get through every day. I needed to let it work its way however it needed to, and I needed to embrace it because I was powerless against it. It just needed to do what it needed to do, and so that's what I did. And grief became part of my daily life. It became part of what I spoke. It became part of what I heard. It became part of how I presented myself. And for months it was that way. And then one night when I was getting ready for bed, which was rare because usually I would just sit in front of the TV until I passed out because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts, I thought to myself as I was getting ready, I was like, oh, today was a pretty good day, considering. And then I thought that I wanted to go downstairs, go sit in front of my computer, and go find something to get sad about. I wanted to go find something to bring up my grief. And I realized that the grief had become a habit. It had become so much a part of me every single day that a day without it at its intensity, I almost didn't know what to do with myself. And that scared me because I didn't want to live my life in grief. And I also realized that I was afraid not to grieve every day because that might mean that I was forgetting them. And I didn't want that to happen either. And then I started thinking that this grief that I was experiencing, this grief was stronger than any other emotion that I had ever had, ever, that I can remember. It was stronger than any joy that I felt, even on my wedding or when my oldest daughter was born, that those joys were so affected by my fear of, oh, we got to plan this and we got to do this and what are they going to say and what's happening tomorrow and what happened yesterday, all those other things that come into your mind for just general everyday things. But grief doesn't let that happen, right? Grief just says, I'm here, pay attention to me. Don't worry about tomorrow, don't worry about yesterday, I'm here. And I thought, you know, if I could experience this level of emotion, this intensity that I didn't even know I was capable of experiencing, and I was experiencing it for grief, then I must be able to experience it for joy. I must be able, if I can feel this intensely, I should be able to direct what I feel this intensely about. And so I started looking for joy. I just started looking for the moments that made me feel filled with joy. And it started small, and for me, with my clothing. I'm a fashion designer, sort of. I was not looking the part. I was going through the motions of my life in grief, and I was dressed in grief's clothing. You know, I was wearing clothes, and I felt like when I woke up in the morning, and I felt like and then I went into my closet and pulled out my clothes, and I looked down through the day, and I'm like, just kept this cycle going. So I went out and started buying sparkly clothing, because when I looked down, when I was feeling in my head, but I looked down and said, oh, I'm shining, I'm sparkly, I look happy, you know, and it sort of broke that cycle of sadness. And it was a small thing, but it did a lot for me. And I started sharing it in these online grief support groups with other lost moms that I had gotten to know, and I thought that they would think that I was crazy. Like, they'd be like, oh, I had a bad day, and I'd be like, where's sparkles? And it sounded so silly, and I thought they were totally going to kick me out of the group, but they didn't. And I started receiving emails from women, like, oh, I was having a bad day, and I passed by a store filled with sparkles, and it made me think of you and smile. Or a woman wrote to me, I had this work thing for my husband to go to, and I didn't want to go, so I bought myself a sparkly headband, and it cheered me up, and it made it not so bad, so thank you. And I was so filled with gratitude. That's something that I was just doing for me, something that just resonated with my own creativity and my own joy, resonated with these other women and helped them in some way. So I kind of just did that for a few months. It's just sort of a thing that was going on. And then on Facebook one day, I read the line that changed my life. It was on another Baby Lost Mom's wall, and it said, I used to be much, muchier. I think I lost my muchness. And immediately I was like, oh my God, that's it, muchness. Like that word, there was no other word that described that feeling that lives inside of us, that the sequins were helping me express. They were helping me express my muchness for me and for all of these women that I was sharing with. And I decided, just like the grief had compounded itself, like a little bit, piling on top of itself, I said, I wonder if I wear sequins every day for 30 days, what will happen if I compound that little bit of joy? And I called it my 30-day muchness challenge, and I took little pictures every day, posted it on my Facebook. And what happened was amazing, because on day 4, I started feeling a shift in my brain, where instead of letting my brain default to grief and sadness and tears, when, you know, that's what it had been doing for months, it started defaulting to sequins and creativity and color and joy. But I did, and then people started coming to my Facebook wall, and they were like, oh, I want muchness. How can I find my muchness, Tova? And every single day they were coming back to see my pictures, and by day, like 15, 20, I was really pushing myself out of my comfort zone, which was huge, just to figure out creative ways to find light and joy and sequins and color. And by day 30, everything had changed. Like, I felt like a different person. And I started my website, Finding My Muchness, where other women and 1 or 2 men would take the muchness challenge, the 30-day muchness challenge, and invite their muchness, whatever it was, into their life, every day for 30 days. And it was different things for different people. Not everybody was obsessed with the sequins the way that I am. For some it was other creative outlets like photography or crafts, and for others it was just reconnecting with their self-confidence and pushing themselves out of their comfort zone in a little way, or connecting with their kids. Whatever it was, just doing it every day for 30 days, and I watched these women emerge from their shadows of grief, that some of them have walked for years and years, and some just weeks and months, and were just looking for something to grab onto to find a little bit of light. And it was amazing. It was amazing, and so I felt so filled with gratitude to create this space for them to do that. And what I realized was that, like I mentioned earlier, that fear of forgetting them if you're not grieving, if you're not going to this tangible thing of tears, right? I picture it almost like a triangle. On the one corner is love, and the love is non-negotiable. It's there. That's it. We love our babies, and we always will. On the other corner is remembering, right? And sometimes the responsibility of remembering, especially when we sometimes feel like the only one, is huge. And so we turn to grief, which has become the habit, the tangible way that we connect to our memories and we go, and I would find time to cry because that was how I connected. But after creating a ritual for joy in honor of my babies, I could then turn to sequins or color or joy or some other tangible way of knowing that I would always remember them, something positive and beautiful that didn't always require the tears. Certainly they were sometimes there, but this was like a real tangible alternative, and it did that for these other women too who took this challenge, and it was awesome. It filled me so much, and I think it's so important because I believe that baby lost parents, all of us, are gifted with a love inside of us that is unlike any other love. I think that this love exists, and with no earthbound recipient, it's like fire, and it can ignite the world. I really do. And when we take in all of this grief and we let it into us, if it sits here like fire, it burns through us. But when we push it back out into the world as love and as positivity and as joy, there's like nothing like it. It can do amazing, amazing, beautiful things. It could create an event like this, like Melissa has done. It creates all of those charities and not-for-profits that help women and families that have gone through loss. We've seen movies and magazines and things to create awareness. And this is all just the expression of our love that was introduced to us as grief and just put out there as love. And it's amazing. I have a story. My friend Maripoli, she lives in Costa Rica, and she joined our TTTS group after her sons died at 27 weeks. And they died because in the entire Central America, there was not one laser machine. They used a laser machine to treat TTTS. And there was not one in the country. And her doctor, who was trained in how to use the machine, said to her, "You need to have this surgery, but I can't give it to you because I don't have the machine." Her babies died. It was heartbreaking. And she came into our group and she shared this story, and the parents in there were ignited to do something, and we talked, and we wanted to do fundraisers. We wanted to get a machine in Central America, and those machines are expensive. And we started working on different ideas, but it's hard. We're also all across this country, other countries. And one of the dads in our group, who has studied TTTS, he's researched it. He knows more about this disorder than probably almost all the doctors in this country. And he theorized that there must be another laser machine that's used for some other medical service that could do the same job as a TTTS laser. He had this idea. And he shared it with Maripoli, who shared it with her doctor. Her doctor said, "Maybe, I don't know, I'll look into it." And he did. And he looked at a few machines, and he finally found one. He said, "This machine, this is going to do the job for TTTS moms who need the surgery to save their babies." And a year after her sons passed, just about a year, and on Maripoli's birthday, her doctor performed the first TTTS laser in Central America on a woman whose daughters were dying from TTTS, and he saved those babies. And he did it with a laser machine that's used for urology. It was rented. He rented that machine and used that machine and saved those babies. This was big news in Costa Rica. It was on the news. It was all over TV. And a wealthy doctor, a retired doctor, heard the story, and he donated a TTTS laser machine. And now they are building a fetal care center in Costa Rica, and they're naming it after Maripoli's sons, Noah and Gael. And this is just one small story. It's a big story, but it's just one story of how when we take our love and we push it back out into the world, we can do amazing things. And we do. And we watch people and they do amazing things. But it's also a big thing I'm saying here, like, oh, go find that light, go do amazing things. But it's not just those big things, it's the little things. It's helping your neighbor when they go through a loss. It's just drawing more empathy into your life, drawing more love and understanding and pushing it back out into the world. And I believe it starts with the little moments that start inside of you, the little moments, I call them muchness moments, of light and of joy and of strength and of fun and of humor and all of those things that, I say we go through our day and it's like this. And like something bad happens, even a small thing, and we drop and we lost food. And the whole day is ruined. But something good happens and it feels like this tiny little blip, and then our day continues. And it's that way for all of us, this tiny little blip and our day continues. I believe if we pay attention to that little moment, if we own that moment, if we celebrate it, if we capture it, it grows. And we can take those moments and look back on them and see our own strength and our own power and our own voice, our own quirkiness and uniqueness. And that's what we're here to share. I've created cards to help you tap into those moments where you feel empowered, where you feel clarity around your purpose and your joy. And it just, actually, I have them. And I want to, if you want to go through them and pass them around, and if any of them resonate with your heart, just take it. Take it, and I'll be selling those cards outside and donating a portion to Michaela's Grace. But it's those moments that light you up, and you should own them because they're yours. There's one story or idea that I want to share that I heard that resonated so strongly with me. When bad things happen, we ask why, right? Why? Why did this happen? Why did this happen to me? And why really has no answer. It's a rhetorical question, right? We can make up answers. Some people say, everything happens for a reason. Nobody wants to hear that. There's no answer. In the Hebrew language, the word why is lama. Lama, that's how you say it. There's another word, which is lema. Lema, which is basically the same word but pronounced differently, means for what? For what? For what did this happen? For what did this happen to me? And when we take our circumstance, when we take our pain and we change the wording from why did this happen to me, why, which is the unanswerable question, and we ask for what did this happen to me, we empower ourselves, we remove the victimhood, and we give ourselves the strength to create an answer, to create a for what, to step forward into our destiny that is the reason, I use that term loosely, that we were given this challenge. So if you find yourself in your head ever thinking, why, I invite you to flip the script and ask yourself, for what did this happen? And then step in to the answer, because you are the answer, and you create the meaning. And thank you so much. And if it's okay for me right now, looking out at all of you and having this opportunity to share this message is such a muchness moment, and I would love to take a picture of the audience if you're okay with that, because I want to remember this, and it really is these moments that strengthen me and give purpose to what I do, putting my message out there, sharing my daughter's Sunshine and Daisy with the world when so many people would rather just move on. So thank you.